Have you ever noticed how the loudest people in the room are rarely the most powerful? The ones who talk endlessly, explaining, defending, reacting, while the silent one in the corner seems to know something they don't. That quiet presence that makes others uneasy. That subtle control that doesn't need to prove anything. What if I told you that this silence, the kind that doesn't hide weakness but hides strategy, is one of the most powerful psychological weapons you can ever master? Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. In a world filled with schemers, manipulators, and ambitious men fighting for control, he realized something most people never learn. Power isn't built by speaking, it's built by withholding. The more you say, the more you reveal. The more you reveal, the easier it is to be controlled. Silence, when used with intention, becomes a shield, protecting your mind, your emotions, and your influence from everyone trying to read or manipulate you. Think about it. Every time you rush to explain yourself, you give others the map to your emotions. Every time you fill the silence, you surrender control. But the one who stays still, who observes instead of reacting, becomes unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. You already feel it when someone pauses before responding. Your mind starts racing, trying to guess what they're thinking. That's the psychological tension of silence. It disarms people. It forces them to reveal more than you ever could by speaking. Psychologists and strategists know this deeply. Silence triggers discomfort in others, and in that discomfort they expose themselves. They justify, over-explain, confess, while you learn everything without saying a word. That's the essence of strategic silence, not absence but deliberate control. The quiet man doesn't need validation because his presence speaks louder than his words. He's composed when others crumble, calm when others react, and that calmness makes people respect him or fear him, sometimes both. You've probably experienced moments when staying silent was harder than speaking, when you wanted to defend yourself, explain your side, or respond emotionally, but something inside told you to hold back. And when you did, you noticed how the energy shifted. The more they spoke, the more power you gained. That's not coincidence. That's psychological warfare at its purest form. Machiavelli knew that silence isn't just a personal discipline, it's a tool of dominance. It creates mystique. It forces others to reveal their intentions before you ever show yours. What you're about to discover in this video isn't just about staying quiet. It's about mastering the art of silence as a strategy. It's about learning how to use it to protect yourself from manipulation, to command respect without demanding it, and to control situations without uttering a single word. Because the truth is, silence can make you feared, respected, and impossible to predict. So stay with me until the end, because once you understand the psychology behind Machiavelli's strategic silence, you'll never look at communication or power the same way again. Silence, when used with intention, becomes more than protection. It becomes presence. It's the invisible armor that keeps your emotions unshaken and your mind sharp. Most people will never understand this kind of control because they've been conditioned to fill every pause, to speak just to be heard. But when you begin to master silence, you start to notice something extraordinary. The world begins to reveal itself to you. People expose their motives. Situations unfold on their own, and while everyone else is busy trying to dominate the noise, you quietly start to dominate the room. If this resonates with you, if you've ever felt that strange power in silence, that calm certainty when you chose not to react, share your experience in the comments. What did you notice when you stayed silent instead of explaining yourself? Your thoughts might help someone else see the power in restraint for the first time. This space isn't just about Machiavelli or philosophy, it's about all of us learning how to think deeper, feel stronger, and move wiser in a noisy world. And if this kind of reflection speaks to you, take a moment to like this video. It tells the algorithm that this message matters, that silence and self-mastery deserve to be heard. When you subscribe and stay close to this channel, you're joining a community of people who think differently, people who seek wisdom, not noise. Your engagement helps this message reach more minds that need it. So stay with me, because what comes next will take this idea even deeper. The kind of silence we're talking about isn't just emotional discipline, it's a strategic art. And once you understand how to use it consciously, you'll see how Machiavelli's timeless wisdom can reshape the way you move through power, influence, and life itself. Machiavelli understood something few people ever truly grasp. Every word you speak is a transaction. You give something away each time you open your mouth, a thought, a belief, an emotion, a piece of your inner world. And when others collect those pieces, they can build a map of your mind. That's what makes information the most dangerous form of currency. Once people know how you think, they can predict your moves. And once they can predict you, they can control you. This is why Machiavelli taught that silence is not just a virtue, it's a weapon of strategy, a shield that protects the most valuable territory you have, your mind. In The Prince, he warned rulers that the court was not filled with allies, but with opportunists. The moment a ruler's thoughts or emotions became visible, those around him would twist them to serve their own gain. And isn't that the same in our lives today? You open up too soon, you reveal your plans, your fears, your doubts, and suddenly, people know exactly how to use them against you. The truth is, the less people know about your inner world, the more they must assume. And assumptions, unlike knowledge, can never be used with precision. That uncertainty is your armor. Most people mistake silence for submission. But Machiavelli saw it as the highest form of dominance, because silence forces others to reveal themselves. When you stop explaining, defending, or reacting, you create a vacuum, and people rush to fill it with their own words, exposing their insecurities and intentions. In that moment, you become the observer instead of the performer, the one who watches while others lose themselves trying to read you. That's the psychological advantage of strategic silence. You make others uncomfortable enough to show you who they really are. It's not an easy discipline. The human mind is addicted to reaction. We want to correct misunderstandings, prove our worth, clarify our intentions, but each of those impulses is a trap. When you explain yourself too much, you tell people exactly where your emotional buttons are. When you speak to defend your reputation, you tell them how much you crave approval. Machiavelli would say that silence is the art of giving nothing away, neither your anger, your ambition, nor your weakness. It's the power to remain composed even when provoked, to protect your dignity when others try to pull you into their chaos. Think about the leaders, mentors, or even quiet individuals you've met who carried an unshakable aura. They didn't need to speak to demand attention. Their stillness did it for them. That kind of presence is born from restraint, from understanding that not every truth deserves an audience. Some truths gain more power when they remain hidden, not as lies, but as reserves of strength. Because what others can't see, they can't attack, and what they can't predict, they can't control. Now I want to go even deeper into this idea, beyond the surface of what silence looks like, into the hidden psychology behind it. Because silence doesn't just protect you from others, it transforms you from within. It rewires how you think, how you respond, and how you lead. There's a hidden truth here about mental discipline, emotional mastery, and the invisible influence that silence creates in every interaction. It's not about suppressing your voice, it's about mastering the timing and purpose behind every word you choose to speak. So before we go further, take a second to reflect on this. How much of your power have you lost simply by speaking too soon? How many times have your words been used to define or limit you? Maybe the first step toward true transformation isn't learning how to speak better, it's learning how to say less and mean more. Write it in the comments. Power in silence. Let's see how many of us are ready to reclaim control through the strength of saying nothing. Silence is not just the absence of words, it's a psychological instrument that manipulates the deepest layers of human emotion. When you stop talking, when you simply hold the space, something fascinating happens. The silence begins to speak for you. It becomes a mirror, reflecting back the hidden parts of everyone in the room. Most people can't handle that reflection. They rush to fill the silence, to escape the discomfort of being alone with their own thoughts. That's when their masks begin to crack and their true selves start to surface. Psychologists have studied this reaction for decades. Silence triggers anxiety because it removes the predictable rhythm of communication. We are conditioned to seek reassurance through constant interaction, to explain, justify, fill every gap. When you withhold that rhythm, when you simply observe, the other person feels the pressure to restore it. They start revealing their emotions, their intentions, even their fears, just to regain balance. It's a subtle yet powerful reversal. The one who speaks the least begins to control the conversation completely. Carl Jung understood this dynamic better than anyone. He called it the confrontation with the shadow, that uncomfortable moment when people are forced to face the parts of themselves they usually hide. When you stay silent, you hold up a mirror to their unconscious. They start projecting their insecurities onto you, interpreting your silence as judgment, rejection, or dominance. But in truth, they're only reacting to their own reflection. Silence becomes the psychological battlefield where people fight against themselves while thinking they're fighting against you. This is why the most dangerous people in any negotiation or argument are the ones who can stay calm and quiet. Their silence creates a void that the other person desperately tries to fill. In that void, the truth leaks out, words that shouldn't be said, information that shouldn't be revealed, emotions that shouldn't be shown. Every second you remain composed, you gain leverage. You're not manipulating others directly. You're allowing their own psychology to expose what you need to know. But strategic silence is not passive, it's not retreat, it's active observation, an invisible form of control. You're reading micro-expressions, tone shifts, breathing patterns, all while saying nothing. And in that silence, you learn how the world truly operates beneath its noise. You begin to see who is confident and who is desperate for validation, who speaks from wisdom and who speaks from fear. That awareness transforms how you move through every interaction. There's also a deeper transformation happening inside you. The more you practice silence, the stronger your emotional discipline becomes. You stop reacting impulsively. You stop needing to prove yourself. Your thoughts become sharper, your intuition clearer. You start to hear what most people never do, the hidden meaning behind every word, the truth behind every pause. You begin to operate on a different frequency, one that commands respect without demanding it. This is the psychology of strategic silence. It destabilizes others while grounding you. It gives you presence, mystery, and composure in a world addicted to constant noise. And it reveals something profound, that power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. The real strength lies not in how loudly you speak, but in how deeply you listen. Now I want to go even deeper into this idea, beyond the psychology of others, into how silence protects your emotional balance and sharpens your perception of reality itself. Because when you understand how silence reshapes your inner world, you'll begin to see that its greatest impact isn't on others at all. It's on you. Write it in the comments. Master of silence. Let's see who's ready to turn quiet observation into unstoppable strength. Every word you speak carries more than meaning. It carries fragments of your inner world. The tone, the pace, the hesitation between sentences, they all reveal something about what's happening beneath your surface. You can try to sound confident, detached, or in control, but language is a double-edged sword. It doesn't just communicate what you want to say, it exposes what you try to hide. That's why Machiavelli warned that words are dangerous weapons when used carelessly. They betray emotion, intention, and even fear. And once those traces are out in the open, someone more observant than you will use them to their advantage. Think about how often people reveal too much without realizing it. In a single conversation, they confess their insecurities through unnecessary explanations, reveal their motives with nervous laughter, or expose their weakness by trying too hard to appear strong. Every extra word becomes a clue. The human mind is naturally wired to interpret emotion, and every slip of the tongue becomes a map of who you are. But silence removes that map. It leaves others guessing. It makes them uncertain, and uncertainty breeds respect. The one who cannot be read is the one who cannot be easily controlled. When you choose silence, you're not refusing to communicate. You're communicating differently. You're saying, I don't need to prove myself. You're saying, I see more than I reveal. Silence shifts the focus away from you and toward everyone else. It gives you space to observe the room, who speaks with authority, who speaks from fear, who tries to dominate with noise. You become the strategist, the poker player, who never shows his cards, yet reads everyone else's hand perfectly. In psychology, this is called emotional containment, the ability to hold your feelings without letting them leak through impulsive behavior. It's not about suppression, it's about control. It's knowing that your first reaction is usually your weakest one. Silence buys you time to assess, to calculate, to understand before you respond. The more you master this, the more unpredictable you become. And unpredictability is the foundation of power. People fear what they can't anticipate. Machiavelli saw this not as manipulation, but as protection. He understood that words can be twisted, recorded, repeated, and used to destroy reputations or weaken authority. The less you say, the less ammunition you hand to others. That's why the most intelligent minds throughout history from philosophers to generals, mastered the art of speaking sparingly. Their silence wasn't emptiness, it was design. Every word they released had weight, because it wasn't diluted by noise. But there's something deeper here. Silence also protects your energy. Every time you argue to be understood, you drain yourself. Every time you explain what doesn't need explanation, you give your power away. When you speak less, you conserve your strength for what truly matters. You stop reacting to every little thing and start choosing what deserves your attention. It's a mental shift, from being reactive to being intentional, and that's when your presence starts to feel different to others. They sense the calmness, the stillness, the self-possession. They can't quite read what's going on inside you, and that makes them both curious and cautious. You're no longer predictable, and unpredictability commands respect. The talkative man might win sympathy, but the silent one wins authority. Machiavelli knew that a ruler who speaks too much loses mystique, and mystique is the essence of influence. Now I want to go even deeper into this truth, into how the modern world, obsessed with attention and validation, punishes silence, and how you can turn that very punishment into your greatest form of psychological power. Because when you understand how to protect your words, you begin to protect your mind, and that's where real transformation begins. Write it in the comments. Silence is protection. Let's see who truly understands the power of saying nothing. We live in an age where noise has become currency. People talk not to connect, but to prove they exist. Every thought, every feeling, every plan is broadcast into the digital void in exchange for a fleeting sense of attention. But in this endless flood of words and opinions, one thing has become rarer and more valuable than ever before: silence. In the modern world, where oversharing is the default, the person who holds back becomes magnetic. The one who doesn't rush to respond stands out not as passive, but as powerful. Strategic silence has become a form of rebellion against the chaos of constant exposure. Scroll through social media, and you'll see it everywhere. People revealing their private battles, relationships, strategies, and fears, mistaking vulnerability for wisdom and validation for truth. But here's the hidden cost. They give the world a blueprint of their psychology. They show how to influence them, what makes them insecure and what triggers them emotionally. Machiavelli would have seen this as the greatest strategic error of our age, because the more you expose, the easier you are to control. The more you explain, the less mysterious you become. Power thrives in mystery. It fades in transparency. In the boardroom, the workplace, or even personal relationships, this principle still rules. The one who speaks last often speaks with more impact. The one who pauses before replying creates a sense of gravity. Silence turns attention into a weapon. People lean in. They wonder what you're thinking. They adjust their behavior in response to your restraint. This is how perception becomes authority. You don't force respect, you create it through calm unpredictability. The less you react, the more people have to imagine your thoughts, and imagination is almost always more powerful than explanation. The irony is that silence, in a world addicted to validation, is now mistaken for arrogance or coldness. But in truth, it's emotional independence. It's saying, I don't need to prove my worth through constant noise. That independence is intimidating because it breaks the social script. Most people are trapped in reaction. They post because others post, they speak because silence feels unbearable. But the one who can remain quiet amid the noise becomes a symbol of control. The room begins to orbit around that calm center. This is not just philosophy, it's psychology in motion. The human mind interprets composure as confidence and restraint as strength. It's why a single word from a quiet leader can shift the mood of an entire room. It's why the person who doesn't defend themselves endlessly earns more respect than the one who fights every accusation. Strategic silence shapes perception without argument. It's persuasion without speech. But mastering this silence doesn't mean isolation. It means intention. It means knowing when to speak and when to let the void do the work for you. Every pause, every withheld opinion becomes a deliberate act of control. Over time, people start to realize that when you do speak, it's worth listening to. They wait for your perspective, and that waiting builds power. The fewer words you use, the more value each one holds. In today's hyper-connected reality, your silence becomes your filter. It separates what's essential from what's noise. It protects your mental clarity and keeps your energy focused. You no longer react to every provocation or trend. You act only with purpose. And that composure, rare, grounded, deliberate, is what makes you unforgettable. Now I want to go even deeper into this truth, into the emotional discipline behind strategic silence and how mastering it rewires the way others perceive your presence. Because what begins as silence on the outside slowly becomes power on the inside, and that's where transformation truly starts. Write it in the comments. Power in calm. Let's see who among you has learned to stay silent in a world that never stops talking. The ability to stay silent when every instinct screams for reaction is one of the highest forms of self-control. It's not weakness, it's war strategy, because every emotional reaction gives someone else a piece of your power. When you react, you reveal where you can be touched, what can move you, what can break your composure. But when you stay centered, when you choose stillness over chaos, you reclaim authority over yourself and over everyone watching. Strategic silence begins with this inner mastery, the discipline of not reacting. Most people don't realize how much of their life is dictated by emotional impulse. Someone offends them and they argue. Someone misunderstands them and they rush to explain. Someone ignores them and they try harder to be seen. But all of that energy serves one purpose: to prove something. And the need to prove is the greatest sign of inner instability. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He knew that the leader who reacts too soon, who answers every provocation, ends up playing someone else's game. True control isn't about winning every exchange. It's about deciding which exchanges deserve your energy at all. Silence in this sense is not passive. It's an active assertion of power. It's saying, you don't control my state. When you refuse to react, you're not suppressing emotion. You're converting it into focus. You learn to observe anger without feeding it, to recognize manipulation without rewarding it. That gap between stimulus and response, that's where dominance lives. It's where your clarity sharpens and your presence expands. Because while everyone else is running on instinct, you're calculating, and in the world of power, the one who calculates always wins. In psychology, this is known as emotional regulation, the ability to remain composed under pressure. It's the skill that separates leaders from followers, creators from reactors. The disciplined mind doesn't waste energy on validation or vengeance. It moves strategically, guided by intent, not impulse. This doesn't mean you never speak. It means your words are chosen with surgical precision. When you finally do speak, people listen, because they know your silence was not ignorance but preparation. Think of every situation where someone tried to provoke you, an argument, a betrayal, a challenge. The louder they became, the more power they lost. And if you stayed calm, something shifted, you felt it. Their energy began to collapse under its own noise. That's the invisible force of self-control, the quiet dominance that turns tension into advantage. Each time you resist, reacting, you build a reputation that says, you can't shake me, and that reputation follows you. It precedes you into rooms, negotiations, and relationships. But the hardest part of mastering silence is the inner dialogue, the voice inside that wants justice, explanation, release. You have to train that voice the way a warrior trains his sword, through repetition, restraint, and awareness. Because real power isn't about suppressing emotion, it's about transcending it. The moment you can feel anger without becoming it, disappointment without drowning in it, or fear without obeying it, you've crossed into a different kind of strength. That's the realm Machiavelli was pointing to when he said, "He who masters himself, masters others." Now I want to go even deeper into this idea, beyond the act of restraint itself, into the transformation that happens when silence becomes part of your identity. Because at that level, you no longer use silence as a tactic. It becomes who you are, a force that commands presence without words and influence without effort. Write it in the comments, I master myself. Because that's where every form of true power begins. To become a silent strategist is to enter a different level of awareness, one that most people will never reach. It's the point where silence stops being a technique and becomes an identity, a signature presence that communicates power without performance. Silence at this level is not about disappearing. It's about being so present that every movement, every glance, and every word you eventually choose carries gravity. It's the kind of presence that shifts the energy in a room without a single word spoken. People feel it before they understand it. That's the essence of mastery. When your calmness becomes louder than everyone else's noise. A silent strategist doesn't need to dominate conversations to dominate perception. He listens deeply, not to reply, but to understand. He studies tone, timing, the emotion behind words, and the spaces between them. Where others hear noise, he hears patterns, motives, fears, inconsistencies. This kind of listening is intelligence in its purest form. It's psychological reconnaissance. It allows you to see what others miss and respond not with emotion, but with precision. Silence gives birth to strategy because it creates space to think. When everyone else reacts, you calculate. When others rush to speak, you plan 3 steps ahead. It's in this stillness that your ideas mature, your emotions settle, and your clarity sharpens. The silent strategist doesn't chase attention. He attracts it. He doesn't reveal plans. He executes them quietly and lets results speak. And the irony, the less he reveals, the more others project greatness onto him. That's the hidden economy of silence. Perception fills the gaps you leave empty. In leadership, silence becomes influence. The one who doesn't speak immediately in a meeting is often perceived as the most intelligent. People wait for his words not because of what he'll say, but because of what his restraint represents. Each pause becomes tension, and tension commands attention. You can almost feel the weight of his thoughts before they're spoken, and when he finally does speak, it feels like a verdict, not a contribution. That's the kind of presence Machiavelli admired, the quiet command that needs no volume. In relationships, both personal and professional, silence earns respect. It tells people that you don't negotiate your peace for validation. It shows that your emotions are under your control, not theirs. Silence teaches boundaries without confrontation. It says, I don't have to explain myself to be understood. Over time, this self-contained energy becomes magnetic. People trust those who don't overexpose. They're drawn to mystery because mystery feels like strength. But let's go deeper. Silence also transforms your inner world. When you stop reacting to everything external, you start hearing what's internal. Your intuition sharpens, your creativity expands, and your self-awareness deepens. You begin to see how much noise was blocking your mind from thinking clearly. Every day you move with more purpose and less anxiety. This is what ancient thinkers like Machiavelli, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius understood. Silence isn't withdrawal. It's the soil where wisdom grows. There's also a paradox to this mastery. The more silent you become, the more your words matter. People who rarely speak carry a kind of quiet authority. Their speech feels deliberate, like each word has been tested in the fire of thought. They don't talk to impress, they talk to impact. And in that restraint lies something that no external power can fake: authentic confidence. So becoming the silent strategist is not about rejecting communication, it's about refining it. It's about speaking with intention and listening with depth. It's knowing that silence is not emptiness, but a form of fullness, full of observation, understanding, and control. It's realizing that silence is not the absence of action, but the perfection of it. Machiavelli once suggested that a ruler's greatest strength is not in how he commands armies, but in how he commands perception. Strategic silence is that command. It shapes how people see you, how they respond to you, and ultimately, how much power you hold without ever having to ask for it. Protect your mind, guard your intentions, and remember, your silence is not weakness. It's your strongest weapon in a world that can't stop talking. If this lesson from Machiavelli opened your eyes to the hidden power of silence, then stay, because this channel is where ancient psychology meets modern power. Comment power if you're ready to master the art of strategic silence. If you've made it all the way here, you already know this wasn't just another video. It was a lesson in awareness, control, and quiet strength. If something in this message spoke directly to you, let me know in the comments. Write, "This message was for me." I read every one of them, and it's always powerful to see how these ideas resonate differently for each of you. If you found value in what we explored together, hit the like button. It's a simple way to keep this space alive and growing. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. Every week we go deeper into the psychology of power, strategy, and transformation. Lessons drawn from thinkers like Machiavelli, Jung, and Nietzsche, reimagined for the modern world. There's another video waiting for you right here that continues this line of thought. It expands on everything we've talked about today. Click and keep walking this path with me. Let's go even further into the art of power, silence, and the mind.